If you're a dungeon master who has ever stared at a blank page wondering where to start your next D&D campaign, this video is for you. Today, I'm going to share 3 campaign ideas, 3 adventure ideas, and 3 encounter ideas that you can use right out of the box or adapt to fit your own world. But before I get into all that, let me take a quick second to explain the difference between all 3, because some newer DMs may not know how they concentrically relate to each other. So, a campaign is the big picture, the overall story that ties everything together. It's made up of 1 or more adventures. Each adventure is a somewhat self-contained story that fits within the campaign's broader theme, kind of like an individual movie within a franchise. Finally, adventures are made up of 1 or more encounters. These are the specific scenes where combat and social interaction and other events occur within that adventure. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get into it. And if you find this kind of content useful, go ahead and click the like button. It helps train the algorithm so more DMs can find the channel. Here are 3 campaign ideas to get your creative wheels turning. The first one is a werewolf vendetta. A cabal of werewolves is conspiring to destroy the duchy. This sounds straightforward, right? Well, here's the twist. The head werewolf has a deeply personal reason for wanting this because the Duke is his brother and they've never gotten along. This is the kind of campaign hook that gives you so much to work with. You've got political intrigue, family betrayal, and a monstrous threat with a very human motivation, and a built-in ticking clock as the lycanthropes work toward their destructive goal. The players don't have to know right away that the werewolves and the Duke are connected. In fact, it's better if they don't. Let them think it's a standard monster problem at first, and then watch their jaws drop when the truth comes out. The second campaign idea deals with something even darker. Someone is robbing graves, and a powerful necromancer is behind it. On the surface, that might sound familiar, but here's where you as the DM get to put your stamp on it. Why is the necromancer doing this? What do they want with the bodies? Are they building an army, or perhaps trying to resurrect someone they loved? Maybe they're conducting some kind of terrible experiment. The grave robbing is just the symptom, whereas the campaign is about uncovering the cause. That journey can take your players through catacombs, rival factions, ancient lore, and some unsettling moral territory. The third campaign idea is more epic in scope. A large desert is getting larger and is swallowing the land at a rapid pace. Farmland is turning to dust, and ancient forests are dying at a rate that has people genuinely frightened. This kind of environmental catastrophe is a great campaign backbone because it affects everyone, not just a specific town or faction, and it creates a sense of urgency and desperation that keeps players invested. It also points towards something ancient and powerful as the root cause, perhaps an evil and ancient blue dragon, which means by the time your players find the answer, they're going to feel like they've really earned it. Now let's zoom in and look at each of these 3 adventures within those campaigns. For the werewolf campaign, here's an adventure that kicks things off nicely. The Duke hires the party to investigate a rumor that someone is planning his assassination at an upcoming royal ball. The players go undercover, posing as servants and guests, trying to suss out the threat before it happens. As they dig into the clues, suspicion falls on the Duchess herself. Is she behind the plot? Or is she just a pawn being maneuvered by someone else? I'll give you a hint. It's the Duke's own brother, who is the head of a group of werewolves. This adventure has everything you want: social intrigue, disguises, moral ambiguity, and a reveal that reframes the entire situation. For the Necromancer campaign, here's your opening adventure. The residents of a small village have been dying at an alarming rate, and as if that weren't troubling enough, the day after each burial, the grave turns up empty. The party investigates the disappearances and eventually follow clues that lead them into a nearby forest. There, they discover a conclave of zombies quietly gathering in the dark. This adventure works on multiple levels, opening as a mystery, shifting into something that feels like a horror story, and eventually becomes a combat situation. It also immediately tells the players that whatever is doing this has a plan, and that's scarier than any single monster. For the desert campaign, here's an early adventure that sets the tone. A traveling druid meets the party at a tavern and asks for their help. A sacred forest near the desert's edge is disappearing at a rate of 100 yards a day. Something is causing this, it's not natural, and signs point to a set of ruins deep in the desert as the source, so the party sets out to find out what's happening. This is a great adventure because it establishes the scale of the problem without overwhelming the players too soon, since at this point they're not saving the world yet, just trying to figure out what's wrong with one desert. The world-saving part comes later. Before I get into the encounters, if you're finding this useful and you're not already subscribed, go ahead and take care of that now. I release new videos weekly, and it's easy to miss if you're not on the list. Alright, now let's get granular and talk about specific encounters within these adventures. For the Royal Ball adventure, here's a great opening encounter. The party members playing the role of guards are stationed at the entrance when a group of uninvited guests show up who are not on the list. One of the player characters working the door notices something off about them, starting with the fact that their arms are unusually hairy, and one of them has a unibrow that would impress even the most dedicated facial hair enthusiast. When the player challenges the group, one of them transforms and attacks right there in the doorway. Suddenly there's a brawl at the entrance, and the party has to contain the situation before the violence ruins everything. It's chaotic, it's fun, and it puts the players immediately on the back foot in a social environment where subtlety was supposed to be the order of the day. For the Zombie Village adventure, here's an encounter that has a good chance of unsettling your players. The party pulls a night watch near the village cemetery. Everything is quiet, and then the dead come out of the ground. That's unsettling on its own, but what makes it worse is that several of the zombies are people the party may have met earlier in the adventure. These are villagers who died just in the past week, people the players spoke with, ate with, maybe even shared a drink with. There's something far more disturbing about recognizing a zombie as someone you were talking to just a few days ago, compared to fighting a nameless monster you've never seen before, and that's the kind of encounter that makes an adventure personal. And finally, for the Encroaching Desert adventure, here's an encounter for day one of the journey that establishes right away that this desert is not an ordinary place. The party is trekking across the sand when they spot a dragon flying high overhead, and they're either admiring it or nervously watching it when, all of a sudden, a cluster of small sandworms bursts up from the ground and attacks, giving them two threats at the same moment, one in the sky and one under their feet. Do they run? Do they fight the worms and hope the dragon doesn't notice them? Do they try to use the dragon's presence to their advantage somehow? This encounter doesn't have an obvious solution, and those are often the most memorable ones. So there you have it. 3 campaigns, 3 adventures, and 3 encounters, all designed to work together. You can use any of them exactly as I've described, mix and match, or just take the core idea and build your own world around it, because the beauty of D&D is that none of this is precious, and all of it is just raw material waiting for you to shape it into something your players will remember. I hope this gives you some solid material to work with, or at the very least, gets your imagination going in a direction you hadn't considered before. And if any of these sparked an idea, or if you've run something similar at your own table, I'd love to hear about it. So drop a comment below and let me know what you're putting together. As always, have fun, stay cool, and keep your dice rolling.